Good morning, everybody. Auronnj here with another Final Fantasy XIV video, and today I'm going to talk about the story a little bit, and in particular I'm going to talk about a character in this story that was totally on the back burner for me for like all of a Realm Reborn and Heavensward, and I didn't like at all at the beginning of Stormblood, but now I've finished the main story quest in Stormblood, right? I've seen those credits roll, and I want to talk about the evolution and storytelling that the developers did with Lyse. Now, if you're not in Stormblood yet, if you haven't played the game as much as I have yet, there is a lot of spoilers in here, especially about this one character, but about some other characters too, as we talk about her development. There's no way for me to avoid that, so if you don't want those spoilers, just close the video right now. Hit like first because it's a good video, but close the video. Get out of here. Okay, if you're still here, let's talk about Lyse. Now, Lyse is a character formerly known as Yda, right? And Yda, for the whole 200 first hours of me playing this game, was Papalymo's sidekick, right? Even in the opening movie to the game, you see her and Papalymo like walking through a field and some flowers and falling from some trees, and you're like, oh, Papalymo's pretty cool. Then there's this mask chick with him. Wonder why she wears a mask, that's weird. And you didn't know back then, or maybe the developers even didn't know, that they were setting up her character in the story. I'll give them credit. I'll say they had plotted this out that far. The mask ends up being important later. So anyway, there she is. But really, Papalymo did stuff and Yda was with him, right? She just followed him around. They do some things together. But mostly people liked Y'shtola. People liked Thancred. You know, Alphinaud's playing this huge role in the story. And Yda sort of always felt like, oh yeah, she's a member of the group. She's the one with the mask, punches people. It's kind of boring. And that's how I felt about her. She was big time back burner character for me, right? And then Stormblood starts. Right towards the beginning of Stormblood, you have this like really emotional, cool scene where the Griffin, you've just defeated the Griffin, and he summons an icon that is like, oh no, what do we do? And Papalymo's like, look, Master Louisoix, the guy from the video who like sent us all to the future or whatever, I was his best student. I'm going to fix this for us. And he does a reenactment of that spell that they tried to use in the opening movie, but it doesn't work. And he gets it to kind of hold, but it kills him, right? It's like this super sad scene. And for Yda, this was her best friend. This was the person who like defined her character to this point. Like that's what they were, a team. And like Thancred has to jump off the airship and take her away. And she didn't even have you just could tell, like, I get she's sad, but like I don't really care about this character a whole lot. Poor Papalymo though. Okay, this is the beginning. This is working Yda back into this story, making her a good character. Cut forward a little bit. She does this big reveal. She says, look, I'm gonna take the mask off. My actual name is Lyse. Yda was my sister. Like, she goes into her whole backstory about how she took on her sister's identity. And she's still a meme in the story because, like, Y'shtola's standing there and says, oh, we knew. Papalymo just told us to play along with it to make you feel good. And you're like, oh my god. Oh, this poor character. Her whole life has been a joke. Oh, man. And I was like, well, that's an interesting storytelling choice. The first time I saw that, I was like, why would you have her big reveal get memed on by her best friends? And she kind of feels a little bit defeated by that, but begins to build a little bit of courage too. She says, you know what? I'm going to go. We're going to try and help Almego out, my home place that the Empire's taken over. And it feels like the story will now go full on Almego, and Lyse is going to sort of work her way in as a main character. Now, I got to say, when they start doing this, I still didn't buy it. She was still really weak to me. She didn't have like that leadership role. They kind of play that out when she tries to take charge and just sort of falls flat, and Warrior of Light and Alphinaud have to kind of like, negotiate for her a little bit at the beginning. And I just feel so bad for this girl. And then there's a thing in Stormblood with as far as storytelling where I think the developers might have made a mistake, and that was leaving Almego and going to the Far East, going to Doma and doing that whole story arc, because Lyse goes with you on that story arc, and the last like my feel for that character as you go to Doma was she's kind of weak. Like, she sort of tried to rally the Almegans, and I guess she kind of was doing okay, but she hadn't concluded her, like, redemption arc as a character. I don't even know if redemption is right, but, like, building herself up into this leader, and she felt like a tag-along the whole time in Stormblood, and it was really awkward. Like, her best victory in Stormblood is probably when she, like, yeets the fish person up into the air when he sets you up for a trap and, like, shoulders him and carries him away. I was like, oh, that's cool. This was one of the first, like, really cool moments for this character, but it was, again, sort of silly. Okay, let's fast forward. You wrap up the Doma arc, and you go back to Almego. And I was like, okay, so I guess we're back on Lyse's story now. Fine. It's been kind of awkward having her be one of the main scions that you're hanging out with the whole time, but I'm in for this. And then another big thing happens, right? The leader of the Almegan resistance dies. And I guess that Lyse's character development, unfortunately for her, always seems to come through someone she looks up to dying, right? She had previously looked up to Papalymo. He sacrifices himself for the cause. She's really looking up to the leader of the Almegan resistance. He ends up dying in to a giant cannon fire. A building basically falls on him. He dies. And when he dies, he says, Lyse, I'm leaving the resistance to you. And my initial reaction to that was like, oh, come on. What has she done to deserve this? Like, she hasn't proven herself in my mind yet. Like, you have your lieutenant. It's like, certainly there's somebody better. And I was sort of disappointed. But I kept playing. And immediately after that, this was finally the thing that made Lyse realize, wait a second, I'm the badass from the Stormblood teaser trailer. And she shows up in this, like, pretty dang epic, like, in-game cutscene, and her clothes are different. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, this is the girl from that opening movie to Stormblood, from the teaser trailer. The one fighting on the big dude's hand. And you're like, where have you been this entire expansion? Why did you come out in the last 10%? Right? Totally awesome, totally badass cutscene. She even starts, like, flirting with the main character a little bit, which at least it seemed like that to me, which was cool. It added more depth to her character. Now, maybe she doesn't do that if you're playing, like, like a Lalafell female or something, but maybe she does, or maybe it just seems different if that's who you're playing. I'm not sure, but this scene, like, starts really redeeming her. She says some, like, really cool lines, and then she takes you up onto that mountain, and it ends in the cutscene where, like, your faces are coming at each other, and you're like, oh man, that was her the whole time. Why didn't I see it? I didn't see it because previously in this game, her clothes look really plain. You got dudes like Thancred and Y'shtola running around looking really cool, and you had Eda and, like, early Lyse looking just sort of like I'm a human female wearing generic NPC clothes. Didn't enjoy that. And she was better than generic NPC. I'm playing that up a little bit. But she didn't look main story, main ally character worth. But this new outfit is good. It's looking real good. And she's strong now. So, it's like through those deaths that she's leveling up. Then you get to, like, the final cutscene of the game. And finally, or the expansion, excuse me, the final cutscene of the expansion. And finally, Lyse, like, sees Xenos, and Xenos holds the sword up to his own throat, right? And she finally has that, like, take charge moment where she actually, like, dashes at him and goes for the throat. And, like, she doesn't get there. Like, again, spoilers, Xenos kills himself. I have this feeling he's not dead. Like, call me a psychic or something if I prove right here. But she at least takes charge. She starts owning it. And I realize through playing that, like, I like this character now. Wow. The developers took a character that was literally like side chick to Papalymo, and over the course of an expansion, made her a legit badass. Awesome. This is the kind of stuff that makes Final Fantasy XIV so good. This is what people mean when they're talking about the story of this game and how the world is just so, like, it grabs you, right? There's so much more to do in this game than, like, in-game PvP. In fact, I don't even like to do that. Or, like, raiding, stuff like that. This is awesome. Her story arc, I had to do a video on it because I just felt like I felt halfway through Stormblood like there was nothing they could do to make me actually like this character. Now she's got the Assassin's Blade, the Assassin's Creed like blade from her arm. She's like arresting the leader of the skulls, and she ends up being really, really cool. So let me know in the comments if you guys like Lyse as a character, if you liked her character development, if you think I'm crazy. Just let me know, whatever. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.